So, we are in the middle of a new series called Walk of Faith. And today is the second sermon, and we think about Sarah, and believing in faith is the topic. So maybe you are encouraged to go through all these great stories, and me too. I'm really excited about all the principles. And today I want to introduce a few principles of Sarah. Maybe you heard already this story. After church, a lady shook pastor's hand and said, "Whoa, this sermon was great. I've never heard such a great sermon from you." And then, humble as a pastor should be, he said, "Sorry, it wasn't me, it was the Lord." And then she said, "But it wasn't that good." And maybe today you're also expecting a sermon, but it's not a sermon from me. It's a sermon from God. And hopefully it's really good and it's really touching and it will touch your heart. Because we're going to learn from people who are extraordinary. Very ordinary and also extraordinary. Because God used them. We read in Hebrews 12:1, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." Maybe today you can highlight this word perseverance. We can say it loud right now that we're saying, let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. You know, there is a cloud of witnesses. So we are surrounded of a cloud of witnesses. So that means we do have role models in the Old Testament. We do have role models where we think, "Whoa, I want to live like him." And these role models are like when we go through the race. Maybe you have once run a marathon. No, me, I did. And I had people next to me on the left side and the right side who cheered us up. And I was encouraged to run faster because people were there who encouraged you. And here, this cloud of witnesses, this great cloud of witnesses, there are people who are saying, "Dan, you can do it better. Come on, let's go." And people around you, also from the Old Testament, they are like role models who encourages you to go for Jesus and his kingdom. Maybe today you don't feel like you are role models, or you don't feel like that everything is already fulfilled and you reached what you originally wanted. Every time when he has a promise, then he comes to a process. He comes to a process, and the process takes faith. Maybe sometimes you are also desperate, and you want to give up. And that's why I want to give you a verse from Abraham, because he had a vision. Abraham and Sarah. Abraham, it's written, "After this, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abraham. I am your shield, your very great reward." As soon as you got a vision, then you need the encouragement that do not be afraid. Because this vision was very great, very big. But Abraham said, "Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus." And Abraham said, "And you have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir." Then the word of the Lord came to him, "This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir." He took him outside and said, "Look at the sky and count the stars." It is not possible to count the stars, if indeed you cannot count them. Then he said to him, "So shall your offspring be." Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. So what was happening here? He got a great vision, a great promise, but as soon as he got this vision, Abraham was not very sure if he really will get what God promised. And maybe you're tempted sometimes that you are desperate because God did not fulfill His promises in your life. You're saying, hey, for so many things I prayed, but for some reason it didn't happen. But then God took Abram out of the tent and He said, count the stars. And he wanted to count it, 100,000, 101, and 102, and it was not possible. And the same thing is with you. He wants to bring us out of our comfort zone, out of our limitation, and He wants to show us, it's not possible, but I will make it possible. And this is the critical state. When you got a vision and you start to say, is it real? Can God really make it possible? For when you can't understand God and impatience threatens to overwhelm you, this is a very, very critical moment. When you say, okay, I'm not sure if I understand God. He gave me a vision, but I do not understand this vision. Maybe a moment of patience can save you a lifetime of regret. Maybe when you were 17, like me, I was praying for a girl, I wanted to marry her. But after 20 years, I checked out the Facebook account, and then I started praising God that I married Karen. Have you ever thought about that? That sometimes we want to have a fulfilled prayer in our lives. We want God make that He give us what we want, but it was not good. And God changed us by not letting us answering this prayer. So my first point for you is, you need to trust God, even it takes a long time. Maybe you have seen this hourglass, and you have also like an hourglass in your life, and you count it down, and you think, God is always too slow, and you want to make God hurry up. Come on, it is not fulfilled in my life. He gave me a promise, and since years I pray for that. But for some reason it was not fulfilled, or it is not fulfilled. But God has another time feeling. Maybe you have heard that once a man came to God and he asked, God, what is a million year to you? God said, like a second. God, what is a million euro for you? And he said, it's like a cent. And the man asked, can I have a cent? And then God answered, no problem, wait a second. Maybe you wanted to reach things and you do not understand that God has another time zone, not like we have. In Genesis we read, now Sarai. So maybe you recognize the name has changed to Sarai, because before it was Sarai, and he changed it. God changed the name, and He wanted to put the name Yahweh into His name. Also Abraham and Abraham, He changed it because He wanted to put His name into the name where He wants to make history with them. Abraham's wife had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar. So she said to Abram, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my maidservant. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abraham agreed to what Sarah said. So Sarah was the one who was the manager of the household, right? She could guide Abraham. But she wanted to find her own solution because she got the promise that she will bear a child when she was 70. But for some reason, the promise was not fulfilled, and She already turned to the 90s, and then she said, okay, there's no possibility anymore to get a child, so I have to find my own solution. And then he went to Hagar, and Abraham had a son, Ishmael, and Ishmael is the son of all the Arab people. And what we also see is today, we always have a conflict between these two tribes. Sometimes we are tempted to find our solution, but don't complicate God's promise with your solution, because your solution is not that good, because God's solution is always the best. And the second thing, do what God wants. Do trust God. You need to trust God, even if it seems ridiculous. Maybe people are smiling to you or laughing to you. What? You're going to church? Or I also laughed at people because I grew up in a traditional church. And when I saw first a charismatic church, they prayed in tongues and they hold up their hands. And I said, they are crazy people. I think they are not Christians. I do not want to have this kind of faith expression. I was very proud in this moment. Maybe you too, people laugh at you because you're trusting God, even if it's sometimes ridiculous. We read in Genesis 18, then the Lord said, I will surely return to you about this time, because the Lord visited Sarah and Abraham next year, and Sarai, your wife, will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent. She was already 90, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarai were already old and well advanced in years, and Sarai was past the age of childbearing. So Sarai laughed to herself as she thought, after I am worn out and my master is old, will I now have this pleasure? Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Sometimes you can insult God by your small thinking. And also Sarah, she laughed at God. No, that is not possible. Maybe today, when you remember in some situation that you laughed at God because God gave you a special purpose in your life, and you laughed at that. And you said, no, God, it is not possible. Not with me. Maybe 7 months ago, I asked a very small prayer, and I said, God, if you want, you can open a small door that I can maybe once preach in English in another country. And after a few months, I got an invitation from Tanzania for 1 week that I should start teaching there in March. In April, I am in Tel Aviv, preaching in a celebration, in 2 celebrations, in 2 services. In May, I will be in London Heathrow, preaching to a men's conference, small conference, but it's in English. It was the moment like, oh God, I didn't pray that prayer. I already prayed, but if you have a small door that I can go in, I don't want to have everything. And God opened a very good big door. Sometimes you don't think that things can happen because you do not really trust God. But you need to trust God, even if sometimes it is ridiculous. And the third thing, even if those around you don't. Maybe you have naysayers around you. They are always saying, it is not possible. Maybe in your family, they are saying, no, don't do that. Don't trust too much. You don't have to go into a very contemporary church. You don't have to be too fiery for God. You don't put too much money for that or too much time for that. We read in Genesis 21, Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. And she added, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. Even people around you laughed. The prayer or the promise was fulfilled by God. Sometimes we are stopped by the laughter of the people, and we don't like to keep going. We don't like to do that. But God always can fulfill your prayer. Maybe it looks like this. When Sarai got to the ultrasound and she saw first Isaac, maybe it looks like this. Yes, Isaac jumps in Sarai's womb. Maybe you also have a baby in you. Maybe it's a purpose. Maybe you want to start a business, or you want to start helping the people. You want to help people by doing something great for them. And you have like a baby in your womb. And today I want to encourage you, trust God. Because when you trust God, then you are on this walk of faith. We read in Hebrews 11, and by faith, even Sarah, even Sarah, who did not believe, even Sarah is on this walk of faith, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. Even Sarah. Even if you sometimes are tempted to find another solution, that you take Hagar instead of really waiting on God. Even Sarah. The point is, don't let impatience overwhelm you. Maybe we have 3 advices from Sarah or encouragements where we can learn more about the life of Sarah. If Sarah would stay on this stage, she would say, don't try to get ahead of God when He isn't moving fast enough for you. Sometimes you are tempted to say, God, you are too slow. I want to go ahead of you because you don't find a solution, so I have to fix it. But instead of waiting, we are saying what we are reading in 2 Peter 3:9. The Lord is not slow in keeping His promise, as some understand slowness. He is patient. This is a difference. He's not slow. He is patient. Patience is a characteristic from God. He's not slow, He's patient. The secret is to model the time while you are waiting. The best thing what you can do when you're waiting is, or when you have to be patient, then what is written in Psalms 37, verse 7. Be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for Him to act. Don't worry about evil people who prosper or fret about their wicked schemes. Wait patiently for Him to act. Wait patiently. What could you do? Or what can you do? I promise you, when you do that, every day, a minimum 10 minutes, slow down, come into the presence of God. Listen to a worship song, start praising God. And I'm sure that during this time, you do not only wait and you do not say, God, hurry up. You get quiet. you get power. You get all that what you need to be successful in your race so that you can have endurance. The second thing, when you must wait, focus on what's happening in you, not what's happening to you. Sometimes we are speaking about all the world circumstances, all the politics, that the president can change the whole world, and we love to speak about all these circumstances, but that's not the thing. Focus on what's happening in you. You know, I do train my children. Maybe you know that when your father woke you up in the morning, and as a children, or my children, always on Monday, they are saying, I want to sleep in, I want to sleep an hour later, an hour more. Then I say, yes, you can do that. You don't have to go to school. And on Tuesday, the same thing. You don't have to go to school. You can sleep in. No, I wouldn't say that. As a father, you create pain. You create pain so that you give them a future purpose, so that to strengthen their future purpose. Sometimes our Father creates pain in our life. We have to get up, even though we are feeling like in a comfort zone. And we don't like to move. And God wants us to move. And He creates pain for our future purpose. That the children, that they learn every day on school, that they have to get up, and that they are successful. It's the same principle. In Romans we read, that is why waiting does not diminish us, any more than waiting diminishes a pregnant mother. We are enlarged in the waiting. We are enlarged. We, of course, don't see what is enlarging us, but the longer we wait, the larger we become, and the more joyful our expectancy. Maybe it's like when you give birth to a child. Have you ever experienced that? I was staying next to my wife. She was laying on the bed and she was crying, and the closer the time of the birth came, the more pain she had. And I was standing next to her, and she said, "Oh, Dan, I don't know if I survive." And she cried, and I was staying next to her, and everywhere we were blood, and I was like falling on the ground, and it was horrible. It was horrible. I had to go to the counselor afterwards. It was horrible. But before she gave birth to the child, the pain was very, very, very heavy. And maybe today, you're also feeling like a heavy pain. But God wants to enlarge, not your pain. He wants to enlarge what you will get. Sometimes we think, I do not know if I endure the pain, if I really will be successful. But we must wait, focus on what's happening in you, not what's happening to you. Focus on what gives you perseverance. What is the goal? The goal is to give birth, come to a new level, and give birth to a new vision. What do you do while you are waiting? I will say, even though I'm saying often, okay, I want to have 1,000 people next year, but maybe God doesn't give it to me that quickly. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting, I want to prepare myself for that goal. And sometimes you want to have the big thing, but God wants to prepare in you the character and all the values who are important to get that you are ready when you get what He has promised. In James 1 we read, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Again, perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Okay? Perseverance, perseverance. You must go through painful moments. You have to get up. And before you give birth to a new vision, then you have to go through a painful moment. But I want to encourage you that you have perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. And the last thing, even our very best cannot possibly compare to anything God has in mind. You know, sometimes we want to say, God, my plans are better than yours. But that's not true at all. You can't do better. You can't be faster than God. Even if you think, hey, I want to shake it and hope that the time runs faster. But it's not possible. Even though you're thinking, okay, my plans are maybe better, but it's not true. It's written about God in Isaiah 64. Since before time began, no one has ever imagined, no ear heard, no eye seen, a God like you who works for those who wait for Him. You know, God prepares everything. And even your plans that you have next year or this year, He prepares it in advance. But maybe the timing is not like you want, but God has the right timing. And maybe today you have to submit your life to Jesus. Maybe you have to say also your plans. You have a small paper on your chair, and you can write down all your plans. And while you're writing and you think about what you want and what you want to be fulfilled with God, with God's help. And you have the chance to bring it to the cross. There's a black box, and you can put it in this box, and then you can submit all your plans to Jesus for this year. Maybe today you want to submit your life to Jesus. Maybe you have never heard about Jesus. Maybe you have heard about Jesus and you went away from Jesus. You had more party in your life than Jesus. You were not fulfilled by the Holy Spirit. You were fulfilled by all the other things. And today you want to come back. And I want to give you the chance to do that. Because Jesus died for you. When Jesus was on this planet Earth, He healed people, He touched them, He taught to people, and He spoke about the kingdom, the coming kingdom, and He saved them. And today you have the chance to say, yes, Jesus, I believe in you. I believe that you died on the cross. And Jesus, I want to say that you should have my whole life. Maybe today you can pray a small prayer with me. And you can say, yes, this is my prayer. And this prayer is also on the screen, and you can pray it with me right now. If you want, you can also, if you really want to give your life to Jesus the first time, the very first time, and you can take your hand and put it on the heart, on your heart, and say, and pray with me. Close your eyes. No, don't close your eyes. You have to read the text. Jesus, forgive me for living my life my way. Today, I surrender my life completely to you. Come live inside of me. Change me. Give me the power to live for you. With all of my heart, I surrender. Father, thank you for those who prayed this prayer the very first time. And I pray also that we right now, that we are surrender our life to Jesus.